Hi, I'm Matt Dalton, Head of the Consumer Sector here at Mazars. I'm really pleased to have Alice Strevens back with me again as part of my In Conversation series. Alice is the Head of Sustainability in the Consumer Sector, and we're going to talk all things supply chain today. Hi Alice, just to kick us off, I'd be really keen to understand a little bit more about some of the challenges we're seeing around social and environmental in relation to the supply chain.
One of the major challenges that companies face in operating global multi-tier supply chains is the upholding of human and labour rights standards in the sourcing of raw materials and the production of products. This includes issues such as modern slavery and child labour, as well as labour rights issues, for instance wages, working hours and freedom of association. Another area that's really complex for companies is gathering reliable environmental data such as Scope 3 emissions data, raw materials processes in relation to biodiversity impacts. So whether it's environmental, human or labour rights issues, companies are increasingly going to need to gather and verify data on their supply chain in order to enable them to report non-financial information going forward.
That's really interesting, Alice. So how are companies using technology to help overcome some of these challenges?
So technology solutions for managing ESG related data are extremely beneficial to help companies understand better what's happening in their value chain. They promote transparency, accountability and collaboration. Barriers to managing risk in the supply chain stem from a lack of clarity and communication in the buyer and supplier relationship. So technology platforms offer the opportunity to collate ESG related data, analyse it, communicate on policies and programs, set improvement targets for suppliers and build capacity. And you can do this through technology globally and at scale. Technology also helps to overcome straightforward obstacles such as language. So by sharing assessment modules with suppliers in their local language, you immediately remove a barrier for inclusion and remove any misunderstanding in the data that's being required.
Why should companies now use a supplier engagement tool now? What are the benefits?
So supplier engagement tools really proliferate the market. And in particular, companies are increasingly going to be asked to disclose more and more sustainability information. In a 2022 Sustainability Pulse survey, 54% of the respondents were using supplier engagement tools, and that was predicted to increase to 99% by 2024, so that we know that this is extremely prevalent across the market. Another reason why we're seeing an increasing use of these tools is incoming legislation. So the CSRD in Europe is requiring companies to report on risk, opportunity and impact across the value chain, as well as IFRS standards S1 and S2 and those that will be introduced in the coming years. What this means is companies need more reliable ESG data that can be verified and that they can use to substantiate their reporting and ultimately towards gaining an assurance opinion which will be required in the economy in the coming years.
That's really interesting, Alice. I know you're talking to a lot of retailers and consumer goods companies at the moment. From what you're seeing, what could they do that could be either improved or reduce the risk around this area?
Well, firstly, it's the scoping of a tool such as this. So really understanding what outcomes you're trying to achieve, what data you need to map, and whether or not the tools that you're looking at actually answer that particular problem. The second issue is understanding that a supplier engagement platform is one tool in the box to operate a responsible supply chain program. It's not a standalone initiative. But really, when you're thinking about that supplier engagement platform, you need to think, what is the strategy to fully implement this and embed it across our systems and processes? It's really important when you're gathering in lots of potentially high-risk data that you're ensuring you have someone with the capability to analyse that data, and that you then have the substantive due diligence processes that you can implement through your supply chain to address the impacts that you're seeing.
And really my final question, Alice, I know there's a real hot topic and you've got a lot of experience in this area. Can you just talk us through a typical project? What would that look like for your clients?
Yeah. So our supplier engagement and improvement service is really about firstly understanding the context and the value chain of the client. So what we really try to do is work with internal stakeholders to understand what's the outcomes of their existing materiality assessments and therefore the data that they're going to need to gather as a baseline to then manage and track in terms of performance. What we then do is develop a very bespoke assessment framework for that organisation and disseminate it through the supplier engagement platform. The next stage is to receive that data and to verify it against key areas and then set improvement programmes where required for the suppliers. This is an iterative process. It happens over a multi-year engagement, and really what we're trying to do is support the organisation to really understand their ESG data and build their own capacity whilst ensuring that the supplier engagement process is embedded within their organisation.
That's really fascinating, Alice. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I really look forward to you coming back and talking to me again about the next hot topic.
Thanks, Matt.